Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your sun in Leo and your moon in Aries. Somebody requested this, and what I immediately thought of was Whitney Houston, because I ended up looking her up years ago when I had seen an interview with her and was struck by how different she appeared than when she first started. I've talked about this before on at least one other video, so I know I'm repeating myself, but I just wanted to mention this very quickly at the beginning of this video because I think that it gets into the issue of a double masculine sun-moon combination for a woman. And by the way, I found out that Whitney had Pisces rising, and that makes a lot of sense. And actually, as I start to talk about this, I think, yeah, you know what? When she first began, she was, I don't know how old she was, but she was pretty young. So I was probably picking up on the Pisces, and that's what was so confusing because back in the day when I was reading 17 magazine in my teenage years, I remember Whitney Houston, but they just said Whitney, and she was so cute. She was like a model. She wasn't a singer at that time, pop singer, and it wasn't until like the mid 80s that she came out and was starting to do the music. I can't remember, like 86, 85, 86. And by then she was an adult. So she there were some of her early songs were, of course, monster hits, and she was interviewed, and I remember that her demeanor and the way that she spoke was very, I don't know how to put it except for saying delicate. That's the only word I know how to say. Because then years later, I heard her, I'm not talking about like towards the end when she had addiction issues that really affected her cognition, even the way she was thinking. I'm not talking about the ravages of drug abuse. I'm talking about even a little bit before that. Now, she was probably using drugs then too. But I remember her doing an interview and she was so like coarse. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay. What I meant to say when I said delicate is refined. Like somebody who maybe, I say the word classy, okay? Very refined, speaking in a very elegant tone. And then she was really coarse and speaking like very rough, okay? Now, that just like totally threw me for a loop because I couldn't figure it out. And now I realize it's because she's a double fire masculine sign. And whether you're male or female, you're going to speak like that a lot of times. Okay, I'm a sun in Sagittarius. Hopefully, I'm not speaking too coarsely, but bluntly, that's a different story. That's just straight to the point. But I'm talking about being very, just in even the tone of your voice, like rough around the edges. And she never looked like that. It's kind of like when you see somebody and they look a certain way and then they open their mouth and it's like totally different, and you can't really wrap your brain around it. So um the rising sign, her being Pisces rising, was something that probably affected her until she had her first Saturn return, close to the age of 30. And so she may have had that demeanor, which the rising sign is. So you have to look at your rising sign to get a better feel for how you're coming across to other people. Even if you are over 30, I mean, I'm really promoting that theory, but it's kind of, it's not really like ironclad. You still are probably going to have rising sign influences that other people can see. and the way that you carry yourself, the way you dress, and that kind of thing can really be influenced by your rising sign. So look at that. If it's in Libra, if it's in, maybe if it's in Pisces like Whitney, it will be softer and gentler. But anyway, that's a story for another day. I just wanted to make that point. So what we have here are two fire signs, and fire energy is very overwhelming. Okay, so I just told you that my sun is in fire, but I have Mercury in Sag as well, but I have a lot of earth. So I don't think that I come across that way as that fiery. There are people who, it's like Donald Trump. Even though his sun is in Gemini, he has a moon in Sagittarius, and he has Leo rising. He has Mars in Leo. That's why some people are turned off to that, because they find it very aggressive. He talks very loudly. Fire sign people tend to breathe loudly. Everything is like over the top. And Leo is at the helm here. Leo is the sun, and Leo is ruled by the sun. Sun is the center of the universe. So this is an overwhelming combination. And unless you are a highly conscious person, which you probably are if you're interested in spiritual matters like astrology, you probably have some desire to constantly improve yourself and things like that. And simply being aware of how you may carry yourself can go a long way in kind of toning down when you need to, because you might not realize that you're dialed up to 100. You might just feel like you're being yourself, and it can be this thing where you are just really, really loud. And it's so funny because I'm half Puerto Rican and I'm half Irish, and both of those cultures, people tend to yell. And so, it's like you can have these influences, whether it's cultural or whether it's astrological, where you do things and it's just kind of deeply ingrained within you, or it's wired into you to be a certain way, to just kind of project your energy in such a masculine way to the outside world. So there can be that extroversion. But as somebody pointed out to me, there was one time I was talking about one of the fire signs, and I said, oh, you're like really extroverted, blah, blah, blah. And this person said, I'm really not. I'm very like shy, or I like to be alone. And I ended up doing a personal reading for that individual. And sure enough, their sun was in the 12th house. So the same could apply to you. You may not be as extroverted as I am claiming that you probably are, because you have these other sub-influences. And also, don't forget the rising sign. If your rising sign is Virgo, if your rising sign is something nondescript, maybe timid, maybe Cancer, and feeling very self-conscious or afraid of making a fool out of yourself, overly sensitive, whatever that can be, or maybe it's Capricorn, very dry, and not wanting to draw attention to yourself. There can be things that tone it down, but it's not going to tone it down for long. You've got a certain time and place where you may let it loose. And it can be quite, like I said, overwhelming to other people who are not like that. So if you have people in your life who are earth signs, they may, or even air signs, which are supposed to be very harmonious with fire, you may find that they recoil at that kind of intense emotion, even if it's very positive. It's just like too much for them. All fire signs have a desire to be creative. And this is where it gets tricky for the moon in Aries, because the moon is our emotional nature. Aries is the first fire sign, and Aries is quite volatile. It's ruled by Mars, and Mars is the god of war. So you do the math, you think about that. What does that mean? It means that the Aries person is a natural warrior. In the moon position, it's the emotional nature that is at war. And if there's no war to be had, they can create one. So this is why this combination, you have to be extra careful about not creating drama in your life, meaning that you do not exaggerate what is going on as an excuse to act out emotionally, because it's very easy to want to add color to life. You know, Leo wants everything to be larger than life. And there's that exaggeration that I'm talking about. The exaggeration is because fire is expansive, and here you have like two planets that are together and can produce that sense of combustibility. I don't know, combustion. And so that can create a lot of volatility, but also just a lot of nonsense. If you're bored, if you are in a relationship that isn't stimulating and you need that kind of, or you're looking for attention, which is the lower vibe of Leo, to be an attention seeker, an attention whore, you know, they call it. If you're not careful, you can do things to attract attention to yourself that are outrageous. And this can run the gamut. I mean, it could be social. They say social media is a narcissist playground. If you're somebody who feels like you're invisible, and you use social media as a way to have people looking at you, that can, I think, create narcissism or feed into narcissism that already exists. It's important to note, I'm not saying that all Leos are narcissists. I'm talking about the lower nature, which every sign has has a shadow self. And with Leo, it is naturally attention seeking. And even with Aries, you can say something similar. Aries wants to be number one. It's the first sign of the zodiac. So there's a lot going on here with being competitive, and doing things like that. But with the moon in Aries, the person can be very irascible, which means that they can be very quick to anger. And like a brief summer, I was going to say summer thunderstorm, where it just like everything goes crazy for 15 minutes and then it stops, that's kind of like the anger of an Aries moon sign. It's very volatile, but it stops as soon as it starts, and the person forgets everything that, you know, they're ready to move on. Well, other people aren't ready to move on. Other people are like, what the hell just happened here? And I don't like this. I don't want this to happen again. You know, so there can be this, if you're not careful, even though this forms a trine, because these are both fire signs, I do think that there is the danger of it being something connected to being a petty tyrant, a bully, trying to get your way. Leo is a fixed sign and Aries is a cardinal sign. And so this combination is interesting because the fixed signs are very steadfast, but we can also say they're very stubborn and they can have trouble seeing other people's points of view. The cardinal signs are the catalysts, they are the take charge signs. So you combine this can be great for career because you can be very persistent and like not giving up at the first sign of any kind of resistance or having a disappointment. But then you also have a take charge type of attitude, which means that you're not looking to be motivated from the outside in. And that's good for people to be very independent when it comes to their career, like taking responsibility for your career, not being the kind of person who needs to be led, who needs to be given instructions on what to do. So that can bode very well. Leo is a leader, and the sun is our aspirational self. So it does tend to really give us information about what type of career path we would enjoy. We do look at other things too, like the midheaven and stuff like that, but the sun is still important. And so with Leo, there is that ability to be at the helm of something. And whether it's you owning your own business or working for somebody and being in a supervisory head honcho type of position, you can do that. Also, and I think of something like the Queen of Wands, where the great bosses or even the King of Wands, the great bosses are the people who are very, what do you call it, like encouraging to their employees, that they give way more praise than they ever would criticism. Because this is a double fire energy, so it's going to be warm. You're going to be the kind of person who is very generous. And so you can excel in many different fields with this combination. Leo tends to love the theater, so that might be something, the creative arts, maybe a performer of some sort, might be right up your alley as an extrovert, as a show off. That can be your cup of tea. When it comes to love, be careful because this is a very hot-blooded combination. I was thinking of that song by Foreigner, I'm hot-blooded, check it and see, because you are hot-blooded, meaning that you are probably very full of lust. How can I delicately put this? So it can be very easy for you to gravitate towards people that you feel this strong physical attraction for, but you don't necessarily have a good you don't have like a good rapport with outside of the bedroom. And that means that you might not have much to talk about. You might not get along emotionally. You clash. And you don't want to get into that type of situation because it can actually be something that is a negative attraction. Because if you bicker a lot with somebody and you have like this great sex, but you have a lot of incompatibility outside of that, and it's like this love-hate relationship, you can actually feel that this is a very familiar type of relationship, or that this is the right type of relationship for you, because it might be full of drama, and that And I always say, don't confuse drama with passion. It's not one and the same. And so, looking at it from that perspective, also another thing that can come up here is that you can be very generous financially. This combination is, I think, very capable of earning a good living because you like to live large, and people who like to spend money tend to be able to attract it into their reality. So you may just like to be very generous with your partner, pay their way, and you may attract a person who is not the right person for you, who is a taker, who takes advantage of you. And they always say that Leos are easily flattered. And I think that there might be some truth to that. So, somebody might know how to play you like a violin and be able to get that wallet to open. So be careful about, have discernment in relationships. Don't be too quick to jump into bed with someone, because even if you're like, hey, it's, I'm recording this in 2022, this is, these are different times. It's not a big deal. It can be a big deal because you can get involved with the wrong person and think that you're with the right person. So that just complicates things. That's what I'm really getting at. But anyway, I do think that you are capable of enduring love. You're a born romantic. There's no question about that. And although some of you with the Sun in Leo will have Venus in Virgo, and I was just, joking about Venus in Virgo being not that romantic, being more like practical in how it interacts with a potential partner. So it really depends on all the factors combined, but in general, you will be very romantic and very creative, very self-expressive, a lot of fun, a lot of like like an inner child coming out, a big kid at heart. You are, Leo in particular, is very popular with children. So you may find that you want to be in a profession like early childhood education or, elementary school, where you can be that leader and that role model to children, and they will love you. They will love you for it because you will emphasize creativity. You will have a colorful way about you, and it's never a dull moment with this combination for sure. Okay, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.